Kia ora team. Here we are, episode 16. Welcome back to the AUNZ Music Podcast. And today, we are joined by Jacob Petrossian. How are you doing, my man?
Yo, very good, my man. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah. On the mend, but we're getting there. It's all good. Coming into those winter days, getting a bit darker outside. But apart from that, I'm actually kind of looking forward to winter myself. I don't mind that. Now, as I do with every episode, I'm going to give you guys a bit of a background on Jacob. And Jacob is a New Zealand-born Melbourne-based guitarist and vocalist who came up through the Christchurch jazz school scene before finding his home in heavy metal and prog metal. He currently plays across several bands, Myriadrone, Payon, and Omnipresence, and brings that musicality into his day work as a guitar tutor at Monterey Secondary College and as a coach for the youth worship band at Wild Path Church. He also has an engaging YouTube channel featuring guitar playthroughs, acoustic covers, and original music. A keen, creative, and a curious soul. And a dear friend of mine, Jacob, welcome. That's your debrief.
Mate, thank you for pumping me up like that.
No worries. Now, we do ask our guests for one fact about themselves unrelated to music. So spill the beans. What do you got?
I love wrestling. I'm talking the fake stuff, man. None of that real stuff. Before I became a musician, I wanted to be a wrestler.
The full WWE experience.
That's it.
Have you ever been to a live show?
Yeah, I went to WrestleMania 32. And for any wrestling fans listening in, if you're ever going to go to a live wrestling show, that's the way to do it. Get the travel package, go for the whole weekend. You won't regret it.
Who was the headline for that?
I would say like the peak moment of that WrestleMania would have been Shane McMahon jumping off the top of the Hell in the Cell, trying to get The Undertaker, who was laid out cold on the announcer table. But of course, The Undertaker just ducked out in the last second.
Dead man. Oh, yeah. I know. We've all been there. Nice. Wear it proudly, my friend. The wrestle community is strong.
Absolutely.
With all that said, let's move on to our news piece for the week. This is from Mary Vavaris at themusic.com.au. It's entitled, New Data Finds Cost of Living Crisis is Drawing More People to Heavy Music. According to new data from Spotify, it seems Australians are increasingly turning towards heavier music genres as the cost of living crisis puts pressure on communities across the country. From 2020 to 2025, metal streams surged by 105%, while punk and rock genres boomed by 80%, signaling a broader shift towards heavier music. And its rise is seen globally, with metal streams up 115%, punk up 168%, and rock up 96%. Sure, some of those stats could be driven by massive tours by the likes of Metallica, Green Day, and AC/DC, but Spotify ANZ's music editor, Joe Kahn, believes there are more substantial factors at play. As uncertainty stemming from inflation and other cost of living pressures, war, and a tumultuous political landscape dominate the news, it seems that global listeners are looking to heavy music for catharsis. Khan said, as audiences navigate post-pandemic realities, cost of living pressures, and an increasingly uncertain and divided world, they're reconnecting with genres that have long offered catharsis, resistance, and a sense of belonging, making rock, punk, and metal feel more relevant and vital than ever. Jacob,
Mm.
what grabs you with that article? Now, we're talking about heavy music and cost of living. Is it causality or what's how do we do this? Is it a cause or do you think that
Mm.
the cost of living is actually causing that? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so the probably the biggest takeout of that for me was like catharsis and heavy music. Like, absolutely. That's kind of always that's always been what's drawn me towards heavier music. Like from when I was 5 years old, hearing Linkin Park for the first time and seeing this spiky haired dude called Chester Bennington screaming on the TV. Um, yeah, whether it's like cost of living that's influencing that, like I really don't know. And what like age demographic are you actually talking about as far as like who's shifting towards heavy music? I'm going to assume it's predominantly younger people. And what, yeah, there's definitely been a shift as far as more younger people moving towards heavier music. Case in point, I went to go see Deftones just over a week ago here in Melbourne. And when they did their last headlining tour, I believe that they played Festival Hall. They played one show at Festival Hall, probably sold that out. But do you remember do you know the capacity of Festival Hall? Like, let's say like 5,000, maybe something
Sure.
like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, this time round, Deftones did two near sold out shows at Rod Laver.
Yeah, right.
So you think
That's
about the growth just there.
yeah.
Now, the crazy thing is, and like I don't actually know Deftones super well, but all my friends who were there were like, I can't believe how many young people there are here.
Mhm.
And when Deftones went into the song My Own Summer, I in the crowd hearing the crowd response, firstly, there was just so many like teenagers screaming at like,
Yeah,
"Ah, that's
right.
the song."
Yeah,
And
right.
yeah, and I literally felt like I was transported back to 2001 and Deftones had just released My White Pony and were like the hottest new band. It was pretty wild. Now I know that a lot of the big reason why they've had such a like resurgence, I guess, is because of TikTok and because that song specifically has gone viral, which has brought a lot of younger people to it.
Yeah, well, that platform's for the younger people, and just to give you some numbers for and perspective on that, Festival Hall, I just checked it, it's about 5,400 people, so bang on the money there,
Mm.
Jacob, and then Rod Laver's upwards of 15,000. So that really is a big jump, and Deftones, like you said, isn't a new band. They've just found this resurgence. And I was trying to find a start causality or correlation with the cost of living analysis there, but it's an interesting take on people turning towards this cathartic styled music. Punk as well. Punk has a very like strong embodiment element to it. So does all this heavy music. You go there and it's not just like emotionally cathartic. It's actually like physically cathartic. Like you act out that music, right? You're participating in that music for sure. And at a time where I think younger people are screaming out for more opportunities of in-person community settings, I think this offers an avenue for that. I think you could also say that's why a lot of young people are turning back towards Christianity as well. Those numbers are skyrocketing too. So coming back into a heavy metal community is a place to actually be engaged with people and yeah, maybe leave those concerns behind around cost of living, war, pandemics, whatever it is, but also just to
Yeah, yeah.
be in it.
Yeah, well, I know, like, yeah, there's definitely some people like Darren Malakian from System of a Down. Like, he's one of many people who have mentioned that, yeah, playing music or like going to shows, going to see music is such a great form of escape. Now, I don't really like to see it as an escape per se, but yeah, it's definitely something to kind of relieve immediate stresses that might come around things like, yeah, cost of living and yeah, not being able to pay for fuel, whatever.
Yeah. What got you into heavy music? Do you remember? Was it the Linkin Park Access?
Well, short story is that my older brother got me into heavier music. I can't remember what was the first thing he ever showed me, but, like, it was probably something like Limp Bizkit or Rage Against the Machine. But, yeah, the first time I saw Linkin Park on TV, that was my first time making my own informed decision on my own taste.
Yeah. Monumental moment.
Mm, massive.
And
Never look back.
yeah, well, what's made you not look back? What's held your interest in that genre? Because I had my spike of heavy metal interest in high school,
Yeah,
and it really was like an emotional cathartic system where I would turn the amp up to 10 and play some loud,
yeah.
distorted guitar to express anger without knowing that I was doing that. But it was serving that purpose. I don't do that now. I don't, that's not my
Mm.
means of expressing anger. Maybe I should. But yeah, what's kept you there?
Yeah, well, maybe it's just that anger that's still locked in there. Um, nah, I mean, like, look, I've always seen heavy metal as like a super healthy form of expressing that anger. Like, yeah, you can either like you can give your mates the bash, or you can like go and like to strum your guitar and kind of express the same emotions, but with a quarter, like with none of the damaging side effects of that. But, yeah, it's interesting you say that 'cause I've got plenty of friends as well who have gone through, like, metal phases and then just gone off onto other rabbit holes and other, deep dives into genres. But, yeah, I don't know, but I would say that my overall taste and appreciation for heavy music has evolved over the years. So while I haven't ventured out of the big spectrum that is metal music, there's been different flavors of it that I've resonated with over time.
Mhm. Yeah. And I'm not asking you to be a spokesperson for the heavy metal community, but I
Mhm.
think, at least in the past, there was a perception that heavy metal listeners were quite, what should we say, committed to their heavy metal music and weren't necessarily interested in exploring other genres. Now, in a world where all music is so accessible, you don't have to be so selective with the albums that you purchase and stuff. Do you think that's shifting with the heavy metal community as well? Do you think they're now absorbing more genres at large?
Um, yeah, great question. I think I would say probably from the time of like the Beastie Boys, there's always been some kind of crossover between like completely different genres. So obviously the Beastie Boys being the first kind of rock and rap crossover, and then that evolves into things like Aerosmith and Run DMC and Anthrax, Public Enemy, which then gives way to Rage Against the Machine, Limp Bizkit, like all the new metal stuff.
Mhm.
But then, yeah, later in the 2000s when you have like kind of all the like metalcore and yeah, the core genres, let's call them.
Mm.
Then there's like electronic aspects combined in that. There's pop. So there's always, yeah, for a long time there has been a history of like kind of genre blending within the metal scene. And so and like nowadays I think of bands like Electric Callboy who are like I was literally saying to a mate the other day, like I've never seen so many metal fans raving before.
Mhm. Yeah, right.
Like if you go to one of their shows, you're not sure if you're at a metal gig or if you're at a rave. Like it's pretty wild. So there definitely have been bands to just completely demolish that gap
Mm.
that's there between certain genres. But look, you're always gonna have, I don't know, gatekeepers or purists or whatever. But yeah, overall, I would say that yeah, I'd say that because heavy metal, it's not necessarily mainstream as it was maybe in like the 80s or 90s. So it's not really seen as this like epitome of counterculture. And so yeah, I don't know. I feel like the kind
Mhm.
of the purest image or vibe has maybe died down a bit.
It's interesting you bring up, the rave for heavy metal fans because 'cause I've always felt like that energy network of, like, intense drum and bass music taps into the same sort of emotional system in me in like heavy metal music and like really, really dirty electronic music. And it's coming back to these community ideas. There's a strong electronic music community, festival goers that go around just following all these things, and they're all about just like raving, you know, and however they do that is up to them. But that's another point of interest. And speaking of genre blending, man, you've sent me a couple of like the reggae genres sliding into some metal scenes as well, or like
Yeah.
bands going between those two energies, which just feel like so paradoxal to me. And I love them both, you know, like I went from that heavy metal phase into a reggae phase, but they feel like completely two different sides of the seesaw, you
Mm.
know? So
Yeah, for
that's
sure,
impressive.
and, like, I think the art really lies in, like, how to kinda seamlessly blend them, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
totally. Totally. Well, we have had Jacob's band Pay On feature as I think it was the first song of the month on episode 1, so you guys can check that out, and we'll hear more about that from Jacob later. But the song of the month this month is not reggae, it's not metal. It's a song from Melbourne-based Zac Slater. It's called Not So Perfect. Have a listen to that, get a little snippet, or you can go check out the full song, and we'll be back to talk about that very shortly. Stay tuned.
You ever love someone so much that you had to let him go? I know we skate on thin ice, this time I've gotta hit the road. You would say it's just the alcohol talking as you screamed across the phone. Where'd you go? I hung up a few seconds ago. I know it's hard when you're down and out, but resilience is what will make us now. I'm on the road, so I gotta roll. Think there's a few coming to tonight's show. And the girl up the front, yeah, she made me think of you somehow. And I was wondering if I could say sorry. At that spot you love, yeah, I'll grab his coffee. But I got an urge, something sudden.
Not So Perfect from Zac Slater, released this year. What grabbed
Nice one,
you?
Zach.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much, Zach. What did you think? Where did you land with that one, Jacob?
Alright, so I thought one of the standouts for me was the great use of dynamics, considering there's no drums and there's no real like, there was definitely bass in there at some point, but it wasn't prominent at all, and it wasn't like I wouldn't say it was necessarily grooving, it was more just providing literally those low frequencies.
Yeah, for sure. The no drums point is a big one, eh? Because his voice just holds so much dynamical value, right? Like
Mm,
it
heaps.
started off
Yeah,
so like it felt close and intimate,
conversational,
and
yeah,
then it
yeah.
moved into this bigger atmosphere, but it's still just like cut through with like a punch. It really smacks you with the feels. He has some really interesting articulations in his voice too at that upper range. Some interesting vibrato styles, I guess you would say. Or the way he falls off certain notes. It's really quite interesting.
In some parts, I got Mike Patton vibes. That's, Mike Patton from Faith No More.
Yeah, right.
Uh, yeah, yeah. I can't remember the name of the Faith No More song, but there's a particular range or just resonance in some of the songs that Mike Patton has that I heard with, with Zach here. So, yeah, nice. I thought, like, as well as the dynamics and general structure of the song, like, yeah, it was a real creative use of just some of the subtle layers as well. Like maybe I heard like a bit of piano in there, maybe a little bit of like subtle strings or like a synth pad or something underneath. So all of that was like, yeah, pretty tasteful in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Totally. All just feeding into that atmosphere, right? And even like
Mm.
the coming and going of reverb, I think, as well, on the vocal. Um, and the guitar at the start's really pretty. Super pretty.
Yeah, yeah. And there was a really good blend of like both acoustic and electric.
Mhm. Yeah. The guitar at the start almost gave me a little bit of Landslide. Just the picking style. Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking now on reflection. It's like, yeah, what did that remind me of? A little bit. A little bit. Yeah. So if you didn't listen to that full song from Zach, you can go check it out on your local streaming service. Um, yeah, that's right. And just quickly, if you are listening and wanting more structured feedback or artist development support, that's the work that GYMjot exists to do. Details are at gymjot.com.au. And we are now back to it with our artist development chat, my favorite part of the show. Jacob, we turn our attention to insights, aha moments, or career pivots, or anything that you think is of artistic value where you felt like this is a change. Something has changed here. What do you got for us?
Mm. Like in my own musical journey, you mean?
Exactly. Yep.
Mm. I would say, off the top of my head, probably the biggest change, the biggest shift that's happened in the past 10 years, it happened about eight or so years ago, was it was I'd love to say it was the first time I played a seven-string guitar, but it wasn't. But it was just one of the times that I played a seven-string, right? So for anyone who doesn't know, a seven-string guitar has a low B string on it. Like a regular guitar, you got your two E strings. The seventh string is uh, fourth below that low E string, all right? So the first time I played a seven string, I just kind of do the typical thing that most like new metalheads would do and just kind of go chug, 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 play some like fat riffs on that low B string, right? And I thought that was cool. It was a different vibe to what a typical six string would offer. But I never thought like, oh, I want to get a seven string because like this just unlocks a whole new world for me. But that all changed when one time I decided to pick up the seven string and just play like a massive chord that ran the length of like all seven strings. And I think I played like a E flat minor seven, but then I used the low B as like a pedal note, right? And that to me was like, whoa, what's this? This is brand new. This is something completely different now. And that unlocked the seven string guitar for me.
Just
And
the
so,
depth of that chord.
yeah, and the possibilities. Like, yeah, I kind of like to think that whatever open note you have, like whether it's E or it's a low B, it could kind of serve as an anchor point for a different mode. So, for example, like yeah, you can play in like Phrygian dominant or whatever, and which is part of E harmonic minor, and like that sounds cool. I love that. But then using the same note, you can pivot to like, oh, now I'm going to play B Lydian, which belongs to like D sharp minor, right? And yeah, it was like all of a sudden now there were just so many more possibilities. And if that wasn't enough, then you can drop tune the B string to drop A. And that becomes a whole new thing in itself. So yeah, I would say as a guitarist, or as a musician in general, that's probably been one of the biggest like pivots for me in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Prior to that, studying jazz guitar was massive as well. Like in the first year of studying at jazz school back in Christchurch, just
Mhm.
completely changed my approach to guitar and like how I, yeah, kind of looked at just playing and overall tone and sensibility and chord to scale relationship, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Just quickly turning back to the seven string. Do you think it's something that all guitarists should explore, or is it of better value or of more value rather to heavy metal genres?
Um, I would say like, yeah, well, typically the majority of people that play extended range guitars are playing, heavier genres. That being said, if you're not playing heavy music and you're playing a seven string or an eight string for that matter, you're probably a jazz guitarist that wants to do walking bass lines as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, look, it's a pretty cool thing to explore. I think I saw a video of John Mayer playing an 8 string a couple of years ago now, and he sounded like he really knew what he was doing. But, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely worth exploring. I'm not telling you to buy a 7 string, but yeah, definitely have a go with it at some point.
Yeah, yeah, cool. And then coming back to those jazz school insights that you brushed over, what was the one thing that you, because like there might be people out there that are thinking, do I really need to go and study? Like, do I really need to go
Mhm.
and pay that money for this education input? And what would you say to those people?
I'd say you don't have to spend that money, but if you do spend that money, it better be a good institute. And I was really lucky that, uh, at the time, CPIT, as it was called, it's called Art Institute now in Christchurch. It was amazing. It was an awesome place. Great tutors, brilliant program, awesome networks were made there, like good pairs. And and so, yeah, I think my time there, like, I'd be half the guitar teacher I am now if it wasn't for going through that program.
For sure. Because what did your education on guitar look like before that?
Just like weekly lessons, really. Oh, and like when I say weekly lessons, I mean like, all right, so you've got I got my guitar lessons at jazz school, right? Where we're diving deep into all the songs, all the repertoire that we're doing, like sort of one song per week, and then just applying all the like the theory from the classroom to those songs, and how can we apply that not only as far as like just learning scales, but it's also like, so in your theory class, it's like you're learning the notes and the kind of makeup, the harmonic makeup of all these scales and chords. But then in your guitar lesson, you're actually giving those things a sound now. And so like it was highly focused lessons. But what it looked like beforehand was I would have like weekly lessons at the high school I was going to, and it was probably like the most casual of casual music lessons you could ever think of. And so it was like maybe once a term I might walk away with something of like substantial value, but it was like every week I'd get something out of the lessons at jazz school. So moral of that story is that there's nothing wrong with getting like private lessons from someone. Like they can be incredibly beneficial, but you need to really seek out the right teacher and you need to be willing to like spend money.
Yeah, I think people do tap into private sessions for accountability metrics as well, just to be like they're not turning up with the same shit every week. You know, it makes them feel like I better practice. I better practice. If I'm investing money as well, then I better practice, or else it's not worth it. It's strange because university didn't do that for me. Yeah, there was like the accountability thing in terms of passing the assessments, more so than like showing up and showing that I've done my work, although that is kind of showing that you've done your work. But yeah, you're right. I guess when you're fully enmeshed in the deep end of music study, you're applying theoretical knowledge to your playing, and you're kind of thinking in this world of theory more. And for better or worse, I mean, I struggled with that in that the theory can become obsessive almost. Like you can start being too theoretical, and you can lose the touch of feeling in music, which is really where the creative spark lies, I would say, which can be informed by theory. Um, but even just the instinct of improvising a solo, uh, yep,
Mhm.
you could map it out and think about it very theoretically, but does it feel good to play? I mean, y-
Yeah, well, it's definitely been something that's held me back, as in like, yeah, as you say, like becoming like almost obsessed with theory, and thinking that everything needs to fit in the right key. But the end goal of all of that is to throw away all the rules. Is to learn them so you know them, but it's like when you're breaking, you're intentionally
For
breaking.
sure. Yeah, the
Yeah.
intentionality.
And it's more so being able to label things, like being able to put a name to sounds that you hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is an extra layer for you, isn't it, my friend? Someone with perfect pitch, a very rare trait to
Gosh,
have.
cut that
Get it in there.
out.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no, you're right. So yeah, you think it's kind of necessary to be obsessed with the theory then before you can let go of it.
Ah, look, I'm not gonna say it's necessary. Like, I've jammed with plenty of people before who have, like, little to no theoretical
True.
knowledge, and, like, when they show me a riff they've come up with, I'm like, I'm not arguing with that." Like,
Yeah.
that sounds freaking awesome, and that sounds like something I wouldn't write because my mind is geared more towards, like, okay, it's gotta have, like, these scale notes and
Mhm.
whatnot. And, yeah, so I greatly respect people who play like that. But, for me personally, like, I'm not self-taught. I'd love to yeah, I'd love to say that, yeah, with my skills, like, yeah, I did heaps of that myself, like, no way, I had to be taught everything, like, guitar and vocals as well, like, I had to be taught. And so, a part of that learning was learning music theory and diving deep into it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. How often are you incorporating theory into your teaching style then? And just quickly, actually, before you answer that,
Mhm,
sometimes I just have to check myself when I say the word theory, as though it's like
mhm,
a definite thing, when in reality
yeah,
it's a theory of frequencies, right? It's a theory of
mhm.
interpreting frequencies, is what musical theory is. It's not just like, oh, you got to learn musical theory, and it's funny because there's only you don't learn about any other theories around music, do you? You just learn the one theory.
Well, yeah, a few things come to mind. I was gonna say something like music is only 2 things, it's melody and it's rhythm, but then, like, melody sort of comes at, like, you only have good melody with, like, good rhythm as well. Like,
Yeah,
rhythm informs melody,
totally.
right? But, so I yeah, I won't, like, hold on to that claim there, but, uh, look, music theory can be boiled down to the most basic thing of, like, okay, this is what a quarter note sounds like. So when you hear a metronome clicking like that, you're playing at the same time as that metronome click, alright? Here's something called an eighth note, it's when you go double time. Oh, man, I'm on the air now, there's, like, pressure to get
Oh,
this right.
yeah. Don't try triplets.
But yeah, I mean, so one thing I apply with a lot of my guitar and bass students, which is predominantly what I teach, um, I'll like I'll demonstrate to them. So every guitarist knows that you can get away, like you can play the guitar without knowing the names of the notes. In the sense of like, cool, you're gonna play E string fret 4. You're gonna play A string fret 2, whatever. But some to like, if you're not teaching the names of the notes from the ground up, you can go quite a while. Like, I went about 3 years before I knew, like, "Oh, this note here is called D." Like, I had no idea. I was just like, "Oh, it sounds like that," and fret 5 on the A string. Cool. Or open D string. So, one thing I have been applying is yeah, just a little exercise that's literally like 013 on the E string, that's E, F, G, but then applying showing them like, "Okay, here's a piano. This is the note E. So if you play open on the E string, that's the same thing." And then, like, noticing how, like, oh, but every now and then we're skipping notes, and those notes that we're skipping are the sharps and are the black keys on the keyboard. So that's music theory, right?
Nuts and bolts,
Yeah.
foundations. Yeah.
Yeah, foundational stuff. Yeah, yeah. So for the most part, I'm I am teaching pretty at least like a basic fundamental fundamental aspects of music theory, but then occasionally I'll get some like pretty standout like year 12 or senior students, and then some of my own private students as well, where I'll be able to dive a bit deeper and then start talking about the different modes and what arpeggios are made of and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of thing is super exciting.
Yeah.
And it's a yeah, it's a good thing to be able to tap into every now and then in the sense of like obviously if you don't, you lose it.
Yeah. Yeah, it keeps you excited too. Like when you do get to teach that to people, it makes those lessons fun because you're almost on the edge of like you don't explain that every day. So you're not it's not like in your teaching dialogue so much. So it's new territory for me as well when I'm doing that. So it's quite exciting, like you said. I guess what I was referring to with musical theory is, for example, you have so Jacob Collier talks about microtonal music. Yeah. So if we're talking about if music theory is a theory of sound frequencies from 0 to however long you want to go for. And if the keyboard has those 12 tones and then there's actually frequency tones in between those tones too. But musical theory doesn't account the musical theory that we know doesn't account for those. It discludes those from our analysis of frequencies, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I would say, I could be totally wrong about this, but I would say that what we learn about is Western music theory.
Yeah.
Because if you think about Middle Eastern music and like parts of India as well, like on their instruments, there's access to more like microtonal stuff. But even on like just anything that doesn't have frets, really,
Yeah, totally.
anything that doesn't have like an even temperament
Mhm.
has access to those
Yeah.
microtones.
Not to
And
mention our
but
voice.
yeah, our voice as well. That's right.
Yeah. And our voice is
Yeah.
always doing that. It's not we're not very often hitting the note bang on, you know?
Nah, but that's like part of where the charm is, I guess.
Exactly. The imperfection is the
Yeah,
charm.
it's the what's the word? It's the not the counterpart, but it's the it's basically let's just say counterpart. It's the counterpart to the AI age.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
imperfect notes.
Yeah,
Yeah, the counterattack.
totally. Before we dive into AI, I'm gonna have to cut it there, or else we'll be here forever. All right, we're gonna let the song of the month for Zach's song play out underneath. Jacob, you can steer people to some socials or anywhere they can keep up with you, or if you wanted to get in touch with Jacob for some lessons, maybe he could let us know about that too. So wherever you want to steer people,
Fantastic.
Jacob, go for it.
Cool, yeah. So I've got an Instagram, JR Petrossian. If you don't know how to spell Petrossian, learn to spell. No. I'm sure, there'll be a link here, but it's PetroSsian. That's Instagram. You can reach me there. I've got a Facebook music page. I've got a YouTube channel, Jacob Petrossian. And in all of those channels, I generally share stuff about my bands. So that's Myriad Drone, that's Payon, that's Omnipresence, and whatever else I might be doing down the track as well. And yeah, if you want to hit me up for lessons, just like get in touch on either of those platforms. Shoot me an email as well, jacobpetrossian94@gmail.com.
There you go.
That's it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for giving us your time, Jacob. Some really interesting insights, especially thinking about 7 strings and music theory there with you. Everyone, we will.
Beautiful, man. Great to chat.
Yeah. We will see you in a month's time, everyone else, for episode 17. Take care until then. Ciao.
Thanks, everyone.